moving deeper into the palace, leaving the outer courtyards behind. The initial shock and awe are settling into a quiet, almost spiritual reverence. My flashlight cuts through the darkness, landing on a gateway that feels more significant than the others. This isn't just another entrance. It's a threshold crossing from the public face of the palace into its intimate, powerful court. This was the nerve center where the Queen's authority was absolute, where decrees shaped an empire, and where the vast machinery of Nubian power was meticulously maintained. Before me, the ghostly outlines of the throne room emerge from the sand and rubble. Even in ruins, it radiates a palpable sense of grandeur. The walls here are thicker, built with a deliberate strength that screams purpose. I can almost see the towering columns that once supported a soaring roof, probably painted with stars or scenes of the Queen's divine right to rule. The floor, though badly damaged, still shows hints of polished stone, maybe inlaid with colored patterns designed to dazzle anyone who entered. Talk about a power move, I whisper to myself, imagining the sheer impact of walking into this space for the first time. The main feature, now mostly buried, would have been the dais for the Queen's throne. I can just make out a raised platform, its edges softened by millennia of erosion. This wasn't just a fancy chair, it was the symbolic heart of her power, a focal point for both adoration and political maneuvering. Historians still debate whether these Nubian thrones were functional furniture or sacred altars, brimming with ritual significance. I can almost picture it. An elaborate structure, shimmering with gold leaf, precious stones, and carved with symbols of strength and fertility: lions, cobras, and rams, all potent icons in Nubian culture. The Queen herself would have sat right there, regal and commanding, draped in fine linens and gleaming gold, her very presence filling this vast hall. Imagine the ceremonies that took place here, ambassadors from distant lands presenting tribute, petitioners pleading for justice, high priests performing sacred rituals, all under the watchful, steady gaze of their queen. The acoustics in here, even now, feel grand. A single spoken word seems to hang in the air, giving me a fleeting sense of the performative nature of ancient leadership. The sheer size of this room hints at the huge court and administration that served her. Flanking the throne room, I can see the remains of several smaller, interconnected chambers. These would have been the administrative quarters, the ancient equivalent of a bustling corporate headquarters. This is where highly educated scribes would have meticulously recorded transactions, drafted royal letters, and kept detailed inventories of the kingdom's immense wealth. I can almost hear the soft scratching of reeds on papyrus, the rustle of official documents, and the low hum of focused work. And look at this. Among the rubble in one of these smaller rooms, I've spotted something incredible. It's a fragment of a clay tablet. It's small, unassuming, but covered in faint, incised hieroglyphs. This is a direct connection to the bureaucratic life of the palace. While important records were kept on papyrus, which rarely survives in the desert, clay tablets or pottery shards were used for daily tallies, practice scripts, or temporary notes. This little fragment, which I can't read, could be anything a simple ledger entry, a shopping list for the royal kitchen, or maybe even homework for a young scribe in training. You can almost imagine the ancient Nubian equivalent of "Did you remember to pick up milk?" written on it. These scribes weren't just record keepers, they were the intellectual elite. Their literacy and numeracy gave them significant power. They managed the flow of goods from the fertile lands along the Nile, oversaw mining for gold and precious stones, and kept meticulous accounts of trade with Egypt, Punt, and other distant kingdoms. This was a sophisticated, well-oiled machine run by specialists who understood the intricate dance of economics and diplomacy. I bet their version of Excel spreadsheets was even more intimidating than ours, with columns and rows of complex hieroglyphs. Next to these offices, I've found what looks like a reception area, where visitors would wait for an audience with the Queen or her top officials. The design here strikes a balance between function and a clear desire to impress. There are traces of benches built right into the walls, and the floor was likely adorned with intricate patterns, all subtly communicating the power and wealth of the kingdom. This is where first impressions were formed, where the might of Nubia was quietly but firmly asserted. A key historical fact that backs this up is the discovery of extensive royal archives at other Nubian sites. These archives didn't just contain economic records, they held legal documents, diplomatic letters, and religious texts. This confirms that a highly centralized and literate government was running this vast, complex empire. The sheer volume of information managed by these ancient bureaucrats is astounding, especially without modern technology. No wonder they needed so many scribes. I can almost see the Queen's chief minister, a figure of immense power, overseeing the daily operations from an office right next to the throne room. This person would have been her eyes and ears, managing everything from building new temples to deploying troops to the borders. This palace wasn't just a home, it was the crucible where the fate of thousands, perhaps millions, was decided. The decisions made in these very rooms would have rippled out, affecting lives from the Nile Valley to the gold-rich eastern deserts. As I walk through these silent, dust-filled chambers, the sense of the Queen's presence is almost tangible. Even without her being here, her authority would have soaked into every stone, every interaction. The echoes of power linger, a testament to a woman who commanded respect not just through her royal bloodline, but through her sharp intellect and strategic genius. I have to pause for a moment and close my eyes just to absorb the sheer weight of history in this space. It's almost overwhelming, like a deep hum of past lives and forgotten ambitions. I feel like an extra in an epic historical drama, just without the cool costume. This part of the palace wasn't just functional, it was designed to project an image. The scale, the materials, the art, it all served to reinforce the Queen's divine connection and her unchallenged sovereignty. From here, she orchestrated the collection of taxes, the maintenance of trade routes that brought exotic goods from faraway lands, and the military expeditions that protected her borders and expanded her influence. This was where all the threads of her empire came together, woven into a grand tapestry by the tireless work of her administrators and the unyielding will of the Queen herself. We're going to explore more of these incredible private quarters in the next part. To make sure you don't miss it, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. You'll get to see the next chapter of this discovery as soon as it's uploaded. Thanks for joining me on this journey.